a raise in you know, so they made him an assistant freight claim agent, and we moved to Pittsburgh. And we there started out very nicely by having Roy. and then and then Brian, you know. And in the meantime, we got transferred to Marlton, and it was a lovely house. And then they were cheap. I mean, it was just beautiful. It had like 3 bedrooms and a great big living room and a great big dining room and a family room with a fireplace, double garage, and all this, and $9,000 in brand new. When I see what you have to pay nowadays, we were really lucky. And we only got to stay there 4 years. Can you believe that? And we got transferred again. So we got a nice house where we lived, but we sold that one. And so all this time, you know, we worked together, and all our lives with the kids, we talked things out. And I always told them, don't keep your distance from your children. I said, especially you have sons, you know. And I said, you've got to be close to your kids. But I was lucky. I stayed home for 17 years, and I had such a ball with those kids. I mean, I never felt like I was cheated or bored, but not with these guys. So I stayed home all that time, and then they got to be about 17, and I said to them, we got to talk to those kids, see if we can sure they go to college. So we sat down, and I hate to think how many times Warren had to sign that student loan things, but they all got them, and they all went through their school, and they all paid their student loans. Every one of them paid them off. And Joey used to say, gee, he says, I wouldn't think of not paying them off. He said, they gave me a chance to go to college, you know? So we kept on. And like I say, we always had discussions, and what are we going to do next? And finally, they all graduated. Oh, when they went to college, I was so lonely. You know, I lost all my playmates. But I got a job for a while because I thought maybe with the kids being going to college, we might need a little extra, you know, because salaries weren't as big as they are now. So that's what I did, and when it was time to retire, I said to Warren, let's sell the house. I said, it was a big house, and I said, I don't look forward for the next few years to have to do wash windows and climb ladders to get things done. So I said, let's sell it and put the money aside and get an apartment, so we did. And gee, we had a wonderful time. God was really good to us. First of all, we had 4 wonderful boys, and they were never sick, very rarely. It was the measles from I can't say it, Joe. And he had the measles, and he had a double. And the kids were driving him crazy. They called him Mr. Blockhead. And I said, don't do that. He's uncomfortable enough, you know? So that's all. We thought, somebody told me Mike, he was sick, and they said he might have, what's that stuff that they said you might have had?
Cystic fibrosis.
Yeah, cystic fibrosis. I was heartbroken. So we took him to the hospital. He was just a little baby. And he was there a while, and I finally called him, and I said, please tell me he's all right. And he said, he doesn't have that. He said, it's just a little, you know, case of, well, what was it? Asthma. And he was allergic to milk. Not mine, but the cows. So over the years, he increased, he got healthy again, you know. And Warren and I had such a ball in retirement. You know, we were everything together. And like I say, we were fortunate enough because Joe sent us 2 tickets to London for 2 weeks. Oh gosh, did we have fun. And then to Holland, he did that. And then we went with all you guys, all the Johnsons. We went to France, and I can remember they had this big jacuzzi, and you didn't go that night. Remember, you said you weren't going to spend all that money. That was the only time you didn't go. And we danced on this big glass jacuzzi dance floor. And it was a beauty. Paris was a beautiful thing, you know. And the kids that enjoyed themselves. But anyhow, all through our life, we got along well together because we sat down and discussed. And we enjoyed each other's company. And I know with all these last few months when Warren was so sick, he said, "Shall we have tea?" So I went out and put the teapot on. He loved to have a cup of tea, and we'd have Ritzy crackers and cream cheese. And we really were congenial, you know. When we went to Florida for 3 months, and we never went anywhere when the kids were home, you know. So we went, and we just went swimming in the ocean and had a wonderful time. So God has been so very, very good to us, and to our children. And I'm grateful always for all this goodness. And today, when we were saying goodbye to Warren here, I said, you know what, I bet he's up there saying to all his people that welcomed him in, "Look at the day there, look there, look at the," you know. I could just picture him. And it just made me feel good, you know. But it's been very hard on me, and it's going to be very hard for me to get used to being without him. So I'll return it over to Roy. Are you ready?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. I'll try to be brief. Today we're here to celebrate the life of a great man, my father. Greatness is a virtue that is measured differently by everyone. My dad was a great father, raising 4 boys. When I was a young child, he was a great coach. He taught us a love of sports, competition, and especially sportsmanship. As a young man, he was a great listener, helping us navigate the way into adulthood. He had a great sense of humor and often made us laugh. He was a great provider. Growing up, we never wanted for anything, except now, more time. He was a great husband to our mother, married 59 years today. So, I think he was a great man. And Dad, if you're watching us today, as you often said, hang loose, we'll keep a candle burning in the window.
Thank you everyone for coming today. It was great to see all these faces. Another family reunion, and this time with friends as well as family. I realize some of you didn't even know Dad, but you're really here for me. You're here for the family, and I appreciate that. I'm going to be brief also. I just want to share a funny little story and then just say a few words about Dad. The funny story is about life at home as I was growing up. Brian and I shared a bedroom, and as teenagers, Dad liked to get up early in the morning. He would wake up so early that we could always count on him to be our alarm clock. But, and for whatever reason, for a period of time, we developed the Singing Campbell alarm clock. And at 7 a.m., we're just dead. We're teenagers. We wanted to sleep till 11 o'clock in the morning. At 7 a.m., that door would pop open, and Dad would come in and go, "Swanee, how I love you, my dear old Swanee." And we're putting the pillow, and then the next morning, he would come in with something new. "Though April showers may come your way, and if you knew Susie like I knew Susie, oh, 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 what a gal." And I have to tell you the truth, every once in a while I woke up before he got in, but I didn't get up because I wanted to see what was going to happen. The words I wanted to say about him, I'm going to read these because it's easier. They come from a former girlfriend who marveled at my ability to fall asleep so instantly. She would share with me about her daily anxieties and how it would take her an hour to fall asleep. And she said, "You are the most secure and confident person I've ever met." And I said, "Really? Thank you." A compliment, she says, "The compliment is not for you, it's for your parents. You are the product of good parenting." So, thanks to Dad.
We all want to clap.
Thank you all for coming. I'll also try to be brief. I wanted to say a couple words about Dad always prided in his immaculate use of English. We say something and we mix up our English, and he would say something along the line of, this sentence calls for an adverb, and we just use an adjective. If we're going to use the English language, let's use it correctly. Never mean about it, just light-hearted about it. And he used to always dislike it when the dog would come around, and I would say, "Yoshi, Daddy." And the dog would go running over to him, and I'd say, "I am no way, no how that dog's daddy. I should get it from this dog." But yet, he was just as broken up about it as I was when the dog had died shortly before I went to college. So he acted real tough, but he was a kitten just like the rest of us. Thank you.
I never know what's going to come out of my mother's mouth. She had a good one today. She said I had 4 wonderful boys, each one cuter than the one previous. All I could think of is, absolutely. How can I argue with that? So, to figure out what I want to talk about, I had to think about things about me that are part of my father, about his core being, things that he passed on to me. To do that, I had to search for those values. What am I now? What is it about me that is the biggest part of my father? And I thought the best way to do that is to look at how I interact with my kids. And I think that's what I found the answer was a no-brainer. When I was 8 years old, I started playing Little League Baseball every year until I was 14. And every year my dad was my coach. And I was a bad sport. I was the wrong kid to coach. I threw temper tantrums. I'd get disgusted if we were losing. I was a very bad sport. Our teams, for some reason, were always bad, too. I don't know what it was. I don't think we ever had a winning season.
Dad was the coach, right?
Dad was the coach. But I now recognize that my dad understood that there was much more to this than wins and losses. And I think this is one of the most important values that I carry forward today. The kids, the families, the learning about yourself, figuring yourself out, the team, the development, sportsmanship, everything about who you are was developed when he was coaching us. And it was important not only for his kids, but for every single kid. I've been coaching my oldest daughter's soccer team this is her going into the 5th year. I'm assistant coach in my 8-year-old daughter's team, and for this is the 3rd year, and my 7-year-old son's baseball team for the 1st year. I feel very strong about the approach that I carry forward with these kids, with these teams, and I think it's definitely because of my dad, what he ingrained in me, what I learned from him as he was my coach. My rules are simple, and I explain this to my team and my parents every season. Number one, the kids are going to have fun. Number two, development. And everything else comes after that. There is nothing else up to that level. And when I think of development, I'm thinking of developing their character, developing their values, developing their mind, everything. There's so much that they want to learn, that they need to learn about themselves and figure themselves out. And I feel the same way. It's not just my kids, it's all the kids. I was going to tell you a story about a girl on my team this year that I really felt good about, but I think I'm going to cut it short just so we can, I don't want to go too long. So I guess now, if you've been paying attention, you might have noticed that I've taken a lot of time to talk about myself at my father's funeral. And all I could say is, knowing what a humble man he was, and if you all knew him, you probably would have wanted it that way.
Well, what a testimony. Cindy.
I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Cindy Goldstein. I'm a friend of families, and most of you that know me know that I sing, and that I often sing at services like this, and it's an honor to be here for you, and it's an honor to sing for such a humble person. The little bit I knew of Warren, but a great deal has been presented today. So for Warren, who is now without struggle. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near, and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand. Guide my feet, hold my hand, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy. Let's be together in prayer. Mighty and loving God, you have given us new and living hope in Christ Jesus. We thank you that by dying he destroyed the power of death, and by rising from the grave opened the way to eternal life. Help us to know that because he lives, we